Triple H tested positive for COVID and was not backstage at Raw tonight. Instead, Road Dogg was running the show. Same Road Dogg who, less than 3 months ago, was on Busted Open Radio begging Tony Khan for a job. That's his word, not mine. It's amazing how quickly things can change. I assume this show was already pretty much done before today anyway, so this was a Triple H show regardless. But I will tell you that for the first time, I think, since Triple H took over in this new regime change, this new era of Raw, there were a couple of different times tonight where I almost fell asleep during this show. This was a very different show from a lot of the recent Triple H episodes of Raw. A lot of the recent episodes were very heavy on in-ring work, long matches. We've had matches that are 15, 20 plus minutes on these shows in recent weeks. You didn't have any of that tonight. We actually had fewer matches. Not any of the matches even hit 15 minutes. And the one that almost did involved Dominic Mysterio. So that tells you what you need to know about Monday Night Raw tonight. But we had Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. Now, Brock Lesnar was advertised to be on Raw tonight. He was the main thing that was being advertised for Raw tonight. Came back last week. He laid out Bobby Lashley. Tonight, they went nose to nose in the opening segment of the show. After that, we never saw or heard from Brock Lesnar again. In fact, we didn't hear from Brock Lesnar at all. He got an early trip back to Saskatchewan so he can hop on his private jet, I'm sure, and head back home as quickly as possible. But the match now is official for Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia on November 5th. It will be Brock Lesnar going one-on-one with Bobby Lashley. Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle had a main event match tonight for the United States Championship. And we also got the return of Elias. And the crowd goes mild. We got the return of Ezekiel's older brother, interfering in the match and ends up costing Matt Riddle by accident the United States Championship. Seth Rollins retains. Mustafa Ali was getting up in Rollins' face a couple of different times tonight. They're trying to get him over. JBL is back. Boy, as if getting Elias back wasn't enough. We have not only the return of JBL, we have the return of Baron Corbin. I know he's a favorite for everybody here in the chat. Baron Corbin, not Happy Corbin. Baron Corbin is back. And it looks like he's going to be managed going forward by JBL. AJ Styles and the OC against the Judgment Day is official for Crown Jewel, which just so happens to be taking place on November 5th in Saudi Arabia. So, here we are last week, myself included, wondering, boy, WWE is going to allow Karl Anderson to defend his never open weight championship at the New Japan show that same day. He is scheduled to defend his title, still is, as far as anybody knows, against Hikuleo. And I thought, wow, okay, he must have had enough pull to have it put into his agreement before he signed that, look, I need to finish up my New Japan commitments. I've got this match coming up on November 5th in Osaka. Makes his debut on Raw last week. The first fucking thing they do, they sign him to be in a match in Saudi Arabia on that very same day. A nice little fuck you to New Japan. Now, maybe we'll find out that they're going to work something out. Maybe we'll find out that they were able to work something out. Maybe they'll, I don't know. Maybe they'll tape the match. Maybe they'll do the match with Hikuleo on a different day. But it sure looks like WWE gonna WWE after what we saw tonight. I would love to see the look on Karl Anderson's face, though. If he signed with the understanding that he would be able to finish out his commitments to New Japan, and he was given the impression that he would be able to, and then getting the news that, hey, you're going to be in a match in Saudi Arabia, a place where the last time he was in WWE, he vowed never to return after what happened the last time with the whole supposed hostage situation on the airplane and all that. Not only is he going back to Saudi Arabia, but it doesn't look like he's going to be defending his championship. So, and New Japan was nice enough last week to retweet them. Remember that? The New Japan World account on Twitter last week, they were kind enough to retweet the WWE post with the video of the Good Brothers returning to the company. I love it. I love it. Meet the new boss. Same as the old boss. WWE is also loading up NXT tomorrow night with a lot of main roster names. up against AEW Dynamite, which is airing on Tuesday this week because the NHL is taking over on Wednesday. So at least for this week, Dynamite's going to be airing one day early. We've got Rhea Ripley going to NXT tomorrow night. We've got Raquel Rodriguez going to NXT tomorrow night. Not only are the Good Brothers being sent to Saudi Arabia in a few weeks, before they get there, they're going to make a pit stop at the Performance Center because they're also going to be on NXT tomorrow night. Anderson and Gallows are going to be teaming up with Cameron Grimes to take on Joe Gacy and the Dyad. Cameron Grimes popping up on Raw for the very first time tonight. But both of those shows could be in some very big trouble because for those who don't know, there was supposed to be a very big baseball game tonight. Game 5 of the ALDS. It was going to be the deciding Game 5 between the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians, or the Cleveland Indians, as Pedro Martinez still says. Old habits die hard. I saw Pedro on the pre-show earlier on TBS. He still calls them the Indians. But that game was supposed to take place tonight on TBS. Well, that game got rained out. And so now Game 5 is going to be played tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And it's going to air on TBS. So if that game should go long, if that game should go into extra innings, that could wreak havoc for both shows, right? Obviously, that could affect NXT, but it could really affect AEW because Dynamite is airing on TBS. So if the game were to go long, that could push back the start time for Dynamite. Of course, you could also look at it another way and say that if the game does not go long, and if the game ends just before 8 p.m., that would be a hell of a lead-in for Dynamite. So it could be a good thing or it could be a really bad thing for AEW because that's going to be a very big baseball game tomorrow night. Tonight was also week 2 of Kevin Patrick as the lead announcer on Monday Night Raw. Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves are the new announce combo. And look, when I talked about the announcer change a couple of weeks ago, I went over all the positives and the negatives. And I said, I don't think Kevin Patrick is the right person for this spot. He seems like a nice guy. He was fine in the backstage interviewer role. I think he's fine as far as, on Raw Talk, they would have him on there as the host. He was doing commentary on Main Event for a year, but nobody gives a fuck about Main Event. Nobody watches Main Event. Nobody cares about Main Event. Being in the lead announce chair on Monday Night Raw is not Main Event. So this is new to him, at least as far as wrestling goes. And I said, he deserves a chance, right? We don't know how he'll end up being in the long term, but, give the guy a chance. And I will give the guy a chance, but I will also say after 2 weeks, this was a mistake. This is exactly what I figured in the first place. He just doesn't have the lead announce voice to be in that chair on Monday Night Raw. There were a lot of different points during the show tonight where if you had somebody else in that chair, even a Michael Cole, if you had a Michael Cole or somebody else in that chair, they would have shown, emotion, or their voice would have gotten louder. They would have reacted to something in a different way. He just sort of has that monotone voice. It never really changes. And I don't know that is going to work out in the long term. Now, it's not like they're going to make a change in a few weeks and give him the boot. He'll have time to grow into the role, and maybe he will. Maybe in 6 months, I'll feel differently about it. But it's pretty clear after the first couple of weeks that this was not the way to go. But this is your Monday Night Raw review. It is October 17, 2022. I am the Solomonster. We're going to get this week started on the right foot. It's a brand new week. It's a Monday. We have a week full of streams. I'm going to be with you tonight. I'm going to be with you tomorrow night. I'm going to be with you on Friday night. Everybody's asking me for my Halloween review. I just saw Halloween last night. I haven't even recorded a review yet, but I will get to it hopefully tomorrow. Please stop bugging me. I haven't forgotten. It will get done. I promise you it will get done. I just don't know when. But if you are new here, hit the subscribe button. Be kind and hit the subscribe button. That way when we go live or we upload new content to the channel, you guys will be the first to know. Super chats are open. We'll be reading them a little bit later on, so get them on in. Get them on in. You see that little dollar icon on the sidebar there. Click that button. You can make it whatever amount you want. Send in your comments, send in your questions, and we'll hang out at the end of the stream. And the goal for Be the Booker, we have a little segment we do at the end of these streams called Be the Booker, where I attempt to randomly book a men's match and a women's match and a tag team match. And I try to do a better job than the people who actually booked the show that we watched tonight. So if we can hit at least 500 likes on this video, by the time we get to the end of the Super Chats, we will be the booker. And if not, I guess we won't. But I see we're almost halfway there, so that's good. So let's get to the beginning of this show here, because we had a cold open tonight. We don't always get cold opens to these shows. We had a cold open with Bobby Lashley already in the ring. He was in his gear. He was in the middle of a promo. And he was calling for Brock Lesnar to get his ass out to the ring after what Brock did to him last week. Brock laid him out with an F5 once, twice, ended up costing him the United States Championship. Brock's music hits. Here comes Cowboy Brock with the cowboy hat and the flannel and everything that he usually walks out in. And he took his time coming to the ring, so Lashley decided, I'm not going to wait for this fucker. I'm just going to go after him myself. And so he left the ring. And Lesnar sees this, and as soon as he sees Bobby get out of the ring, he charges at him, and he slams him against the ring apron. He slams Lashley into the ring post. Brock tried to give him an F5 on the floor. Lashley, though, slipped out and sent Brock face first into the ring post. Lashley ended up spearing him through the barricade over by the timekeeper's area. We had officials come out. A bunch of wrestlers came out. We saw Shelton Benjamin out there. We saw Cedric Alexander. We saw Otis and Chad Gable. I think Ali might have been out there. They're all trying to get Bobby away from Brock, right? They're trying to restrain Bobby Lashley, who's a madman. And instead, Bobby gets free. And he does his best Braun Strowman impression, right? The Strowman Express. And he does the little jog around the ring. Brock doesn't see him coming. Lashley does the jog around the ring. And he ends up tackling Lesnar onto the announce desk. I think the goal was to go over the announce desk. They didn't quite make it over. So they wiggled their way off the top of the table and fell on the floor. So they got back up, and this time Lashley put Brock through the table with a spine buster. And finally they got Lashley to the back. So Brock calls it an early night, right? Whenever you see Brock Lesnar in the opening segment, you just assume that it's so that he can get the hell out of that building and get home as quickly as possible. I'm sure Brock was already halfway home before the fucking OC came out in the middle of this show. And look, you can't do a cold open every single week. I wouldn't advise that. But we've seen Triple H use this a few times now. This one was very effective. It just gives that feeling of, what's going on. It's sort of like they're breaking from their formula, which is never a bad thing. WWE has loved their formulas now for years. That was one of my biggest issues with the shows. They were so formulaic. They were afraid to break out of that, that same pattern of how they do television, right down to where the commercial breaks are. And it's still a problem on these shows. These shows still, in terms of the formatting, in terms of the production, they really don't feel all that different than they did under Vince McMahon. And it's probably because of who they have in the truck still running the shows, but that's a whole other issue. Hey, Brandon, thank you for the sub. Cody Rhodes is very excited that you have subscribed to the channel. Look at Cody. Cody Rhodes ahead of schedule. That's the latest on Cody. He is ahead of schedule in his recovery from his torn pec. I'm telling you, Royal Rumble return. He's on target for the Rumble. I had a couple of people ask me, if he's healed up, should he be in War Games? The guy's coming back from major surgery. We're a month away, 6 weeks away from Survivor Series. He's got no story. Why would Cody be in War Games? Let the man heal. Let him heal. Let them build properly to his return. It'll mean so much more in the Royal Rumble match than it would in War Games in 6 weeks. Come on. Use your head. So last week, Lesnar got the better of Bobby Lashley. This week, Lashley got the better of Raw, of Raw. Lashley got the better of Brock. I don't even know what I'm saying. And I said this on Twitter. This is going to be second from the top at Crown Jewel, right? We know that. Roman Reigns is going to defend his championships against Logan Paul. That's the main event. This is my main event. Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley is the match that I want to see on this show. I was one of the only people who, after all these years went by, would still, as many times as I could on the podcast, to the point where people say, why do you keep mentioning this? Why do you keep talking about it? Why do you keep asking for it? I would be a champion for the idea of doing Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, even when it looked like this was nothing that WWE had any interest in doing. Because it was a fresh match that we had never seen before, and I thought that it could actually end up being a pretty good match. And finally, we got it in January at the Royal Rumble. And they went in there and they had what I thought was a disappointing match. I know that these two could have a better match than the one that they had in January. And so it is my hope that we will get that match at Crown Jewel. I've given up on the idea that we're going to get any kind of Brock Lesnar match that doesn't involve just constant German suplexes. But if they could just work a few different things in there, yeah, you got these two big guys going, head to head, nose to nose. I know there's a better match in these two than the one that we got at the Rumble. And I'm hopeful that we might actually get to see that in Saudi Arabia. So they didn't deliver at the Rumble like I hoped they would, but hopefully they will in a few weeks. Now we come back from the break. The announcers still had no desk. Luke Gallows and Karl Anderson, 1 week after making their return to Raw, had their first Raw match tonight in more than 2 years, taking on Otis and Chad Gable. Anderson and Gallows had AJ Styles in their corner. They're using the name the OC. There was one mention of Good Brothers tonight on commentary by Corey Graves, but they're using the OC. I hate that fucking name. I hated it before when they used it. I hate that name. All I do is I think of the Fox show. They had a show on Fox called the OC. I think it was meant to be like a modern day 90210 or Melrose Place or one of those types of shows. Wasn't there another one? There were like a whole bunch of these shows. I hate that name. But they kept saying OC. So the OC were out there. They got Anderson down on the outside heading into a break. Coming out of the break, Gallows got the tag. He ran roughshod. They had Gable set up for the Magic Killer. Otis broke it up. He knocked the big guy out of the ring, the other big guy. Otis went out after him, but he got sent into the ring steps. Back inside, Anderson caught Gable with a spine buster, and that set up the Magic Killer for the win. So AJ and his boys were about to do the too sweet hand gesture. Yes, was it the Hills? Is that the other one that I'm thinking? I don't know if it was the Hills. No, it wasn't Dawson's Creek. It was another one of these stupid teenage, soap opera shows. I don't think it was the Hills. I don't know. It's not important. Thankfully, they're off the air. Who gives a shit? Who cares? But AJ and his boys were about to too sweet each other. Here comes the Judgment Day. And Finn Balor is mocking them, doing the too sweet, and says it's the same old crap. Balor reminds them that I'm the one who even formed this stupid group in the first place, which is true, right? He was the founder of the Bullet Club. So Balor challenges them to a match at Crown Jewel. It'd be the OC against the Judgment Day. Styles accepts, which, again, unless they do an injury angle between now and then with Karl Anderson, which they could do. They could do an injury angle to take him out of the match. Crown Jewel could then be AJ and Gallows against, let's say, Balor and Damian Priest, and you leave Dominic out of the match. But as things currently stand, it looks like it's going to be New Japan left with egg on their face and no champion to defend his title. Because Karl Anderson is not going to be able to go from Osaka to Riyadh or from Riyadh to Osaka. Because apparently, now the time zone difference between the two, right? Because there is a time zone difference. Osaka is 6 hours ahead of Riyadh. But apparently the flight it's something like 16 hours or something like it's impossible. It's impossible for him to be in both places in the same night in time to do both shows. It is not going to happen. Not even Hulk Hogan, who once claimed that he traveled 400 days in a calendar year because of the time zone difference and going back and forth from the US to Japan, even Hulk Hogan himself, in his fucking time machine, would not be able to do both shows. So AJ said, look, we're going to do the match at Crown Jewel, but I can't understand Why we always do this? You know, you guys are over there and we go back and forth. We're on Monday Night Raw. Why don't we do the match tonight? And he called for the Judgment Day to face them right here and now. He said, that is, unless you boys have to first ask your mother for permission. Of course, Rhea Ripley calls herself Mommy, right? Dominic is Poppy. Not to be confused with Triple H's Poppy, who I'm sure we'll see back very soon. But that was a reference to Rhea Ripley. So then Dominic spoke up, right? Because you insult Rhea, Dominic has to stand up for his woman now. Dominic grew a set of balls here, and he took the microphone, his balls dropped, and he told AJ to shut his mouth, unless he wants to end up just like Dominic's father, who ended up crawling away to SmackDown because he couldn't handle the Judgment Day anymore. Styles called Dominic a piece of trash for turning his back on his own father, and then he challenged Dominic to face him in the ring tonight. Rhea Ripley took the mic and told AJ that Dominic would rip him limb from limb. And she said, are you a man or are you a boy? This is what she asked Dominic. Are you a man or are you a boy? And she told him to do it. And Dominic agreed to the match. Styles said, let's go. Let's do it right now. Dominic said, well, I'm not prepared. I don't have my gear on. I'd say maybe in about an hour or so, I'll be ready to do this match. And Styles said that he would do to Dominic what his father should have done by beating the piss out of him. I love how Rhea manipulated Dominic into accepting the match, which obviously he probably didn't want to do. But I love how she manipulated him into accepting the challenge. I'll bet there's a lot of dudes in the chat right now, live on this stream, who would love to be manipulated by Rhea Ripley. I don't even need to take a scientific poll to know that there are many people, maybe men and women, frankly, in the chat right now who would love to be manipulated, among other things, by Rhea Ripley. So Dominic, look, the one thing I will say about this, and we saw him again later on in the show, Dominic has been guided by his father for so many years. The last 2 years of Rey Mysterio's career haven't even been about Rey Mysterio. The last 2 years of his career, and it will continue on into next year, it's all about getting his son over. He is doing everything in his power to make sure that Dominic has all the tools to get over on his own and become a big star in WWE. And now that Rey has gone to SmackDown, at least temporarily, he's gone to SmackDown, Dominic is in this group. He's surrounded by Finn Balor. He's surrounded by AJ Styles, right? He's in good hands. He's in good hands. So Dominic has some good people to learn from here, and that's good for him. It might not be so good for AJ Styles, who was laying on his back at the end of their match, but it's good for Dominic. So we had the new United States champion, Seth Rollins. He was out next in the ring in an all-red suit for a promo. All-red everything on this show. Actually, that's not true. He had zebra boots on. But otherwise, it was all-red everything. Rollins told all the haters to kiss his big red ass, which I think would have been a great catchphrase for Kane. I think that would have gotten over very well once he started talking. Once Kane started talking without the voice box, he could have just gone around telling people to kiss his big red ass. I think it would have gotten over huge. He encouraged the fans to sing his song, and they obliged. Rollins wanted to right a wrong from Extreme Rules in his loss to Matt Riddle. When he defended the title tonight against Riddle, crowd chanted, "You tapped out." And Rollins admitted, yeah, I did tap out. But I only tapped out because I wanted to make sure I was in good physical condition 2 days later for my title match with Bobby Lashley. He said he tapped out for all of us. So Mustafa Ali interrupts, and Ali gets in the ring, and he congratulates Rollins on winning the championship, but he wondered why he did not shout out Brock Lesnar for the assist. And Ali told Rollins that Lashley promised him that he was next in line for a championship match. So Ali challenged Rollins for the title, and Rollins basically laughed him off. He said that he admits that he does like Ali. He says, I like you. You're a nice guy. He admires him outside the ring, he said, for being a good father and for being a good husband. But then as he's in the middle of complimenting him, he decks Ali and he drops him. throws him out of the ring. Rollins thought that he was done with him. He goes to leave. He's out on the floor. Here comes Ali from behind. He jumps Rollins from behind. And Rollins launches him into the ring post after this. And Ali took this wicked bump. It made a great sound. I mean, he took a hellacious face-first bump off this ring post. It sounded like he broke his face. But we were less than an hour into the show at this point. We were maybe like 50 minutes into the show at this point. And I think this, by my count, this was the fourth bump that somebody had already taken into the ring post. We weren't even an hour into the show. But this was the best one. So, as far as Ali goes, and this was not the last that we saw him on the show here, Ali could be a great, plucky babyface. We've seen them try him as a babyface. We've seen them try him as a heel. But Ali could be a great, plucky babyface. He needs the crowd to get behind him, though, if he's going to succeed. And so far, in the appearances that he's made on television, they're not really getting behind him. If he can't get the crowd behind him organically, he's dead in the water. He's dead in the water. I mean, you see the reactions at someone like Sami Zayn, who's not even a babyface, right? But the fans love him. They're entertained by him. And they're going to end up turning him babyface in the coming months. He has the crowd behind him organically. The company doesn't have to manufacture a damn thing with Sami Zayn. They love this guy, right? And we could go back to Daniel Bryan, and you could find other examples too of baby faces that the crowd got behind in a major way, or maybe the company wasn't getting behind them, but the crowd did, and so therefore they got a big push out of it. Ali has yet to find this. Now, Ali is not featured consistently on television. Maybe if he was on television every week, if they gave him a good character, storyline, whatever, maybe then the crowd would have a reason to get behind him. But until that starts to happen, he's going to come out to crickets on most weeks, and this push here that they're giving him is not going to last very long. He's got to get the crowd behind him in some way. And right now, it's really just not happening. But there's still time. But, you know, the way that Rollins was gloating in this segment, he was so smug and he was gloating, and Ali was laid out by him. They almost made it seem like, you know what, maybe Rollins is not going to leave the show tonight with this championship. Maybe his title run is going to be short-lived. He's going to talk himself out of a title. Ali's going to cost him the belt. It didn't work out that way, but I don't even know if it was really intended that way, but I like the fact that they at least planted the idea that, shit, maybe this guy really is going to lose this title later on in the show. But I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they're going in the direction of Rollins and Ali. Probably a crown jewel would be my guess. They're going to have a U.S. title match. That's not official. I think that's going to be a fucking great match, if that's the match we get. So they cut to a shot of the parking lot where we saw JBL's limousine pull up. It had the big bull horns on the hood. You knew who it was. It had JBL on the fucking license plate. I mean, it's not hard to figure out whose car that was. So that pulls up heading into the commercial break. Now, the last time we saw that limo, that JBL limo pull up on TV was on SmackDown a few months ago. And that was also the last time we saw Baron Corbin. Door swung open. Corbin went in the limo. It drove off. I mean, this was weeks ago. And we haven't seen him since. We haven't heard about this. There was no follow-up to it. So this is the first time that we were seeing JBL here on the show since then. At this point, we were 50 minutes, almost a full hour into the show, and still we only had one actual match so far. So to go to the point that I made at the beginning about how this felt very different than a lot of other Triple H booked Raws in recent weeks, to me that was one of the biggest differences in the shows that we have seen him do up to this point. But they had a couple of angles, the one with Rollins and Ali, the one to open the show with Lesnar and Lashley. At least there was action. It wasn't just talking, yep. They had actual action in those segments. So that's good. You want to at least have something going on. If it's just constant talking segments with no match to break things up, that gets fucking boring after a while. Unless you have somebody who is very good at talking. Then it's not so boring. That's why you're all here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here right now. Now, would you? What's left of my manhood is in the chat. One of our channel members. I bet you he's a fan of Rhea Ripley. I can guarantee you he's a fan of Rhea Ripley. If he was with Rhea Ripley, as far as what's left of your manhood, it wouldn't be much. So we have Bianca Belair and Candice LeRae against Dakota Kai and Io Sky of Damage Control. Speaking of things that just are not working. Now, Bayley was on commentary for this match. At one point, she slipped up. She called her Io Shirai. So, everybody that I was seeing talking about this match was so enamored with the match, they were talking about this one little faux pas by Bayley on commentary. Oh, maybe she's going back to her old name. No, she's not. No, she's not. And there's nobody on commentary who's going to yell at Bayley for it because they don't have a fucking psychopath on headset anymore. But yes, it was just a little minor slip up there by Bayley. So Bianca and Candice gave Io a combo vertical suplex missile drop kick where Bianca suplexed her up in a vertical position. Candice came off the top with a drop kick. Io landed very awkwardly on the landing there. The teams traded moves until Bayley decided to grab a kendo stick. She got up, she went under the ring, she pulled out a kendo stick. Bianca tackled her over the announce desk before she could use it, though. That left Candice all alone in the ring, and Dakota and Io gave her a double team back suplex for the win. There was something off about this match. This was not a very good match. And to me, it looked more specifically like Candice and Dakota were moving in slow motion at different points during this match. So I didn't think this was a very good match. But at least they gave the champs a win, right? You try to find positivity somewhere where you can. At least the women's tag team champions got a win, which they had to because they're defending the titles on Friday against Raquel and Shotzi. So that would have been pretty fucking dumb for them to show up on Raw and lose and then go to SmackDown to defend their titles. So at least they won. We go to the back. Now we knew with the announce shakeup that they also shook up the backstage team. She was there last week. She was doing some WWE YouTube interviews in the back, but she wasn't actually on the show. So tonight was the first time that we have seen Kathy Kelly back on TV since she came back to the company. She was gone for 2 years. Now she's back. Always good to see Kathy Kelly on these shows. She was in the back with Matt Riddle, who was talking about his match with Rollins later tonight, when Riddle spotted Ali off in the distance. So he goes and he walks over to Ali. And he tells him that he admired his guts out there with Seth, said that when he wins the championship tonight, he'll give Ali a title shot first. Ali can be the first one in line to get a shot at the U.S. title. So as they're having their conversation, all of a sudden we hear moaning. And then off in the corner, we see Ariel Helwani still talking about his interview with Tony Khan. Now, we saw The Miz. The Miz was sitting on the ground, he was clutching his knee, and he was moaning in pain, talking as if he slipped on a wet spot on the floor. He was blaming the janitors for it. He slipped, he hurt his knee. He said, torn ACL, at the very least. I love it. Even without the benefit of x-rays, this guy knows for a fact that he has torn his ACL. And he tells the other two geeks to go find help. Go find a doctor, go get me some help. Trying to get out of the match that he was scheduled for with Dexter Lumis. We cut to a different part of the locker room area. We see the Judgment Day. And they're talking to Dominic. Dominic's getting ready. He's trying to get in the zone, right? He's getting in the zone for his match with AJ Styles. All of a sudden, Cora Jade shows up from NXT. And she wanted Rhea Ripley to go to NXT tomorrow night to wrestle Roxanne Perez. They're doing a pick your poison deal, where one of them picks a wrestler from SmackDown to wrestle the other, and the other one does the same. Cora picks somebody from Raw, because Cora and Roxanne are having a match next Saturday at Halloween Havoc. So on NXT tomorrow night, they get to pick their opponents from the main roster. So Roxanne already picked Raquel Gonzalez, or Raquel Rodriguez, I guess is her new name, Raquel Rodriguez. Cora wants Rhea Ripley to go to NXT tomorrow night to wrestle Roxanne. And so she accepts the challenge, does Rhea. So that's official for tomorrow night. Again, they're loading that show up with a bunch of main roster names because they just so happen to be having some competition tomorrow night that they have not had. Now, it's been about 1.5 years since NXT and AEW Dynamite have been head-to-head. So you know that NXT wants to make a good impression. You know that Shawn Michaels wants his team to win, but they won't. They won't. But I wouldn't exactly wave the winning flag for AEW either. I think it was something like AEW had like 1.1 million viewers, I think, the last head-to-head battle they had. I don't think either one of these shows are going to do all that well tomorrow night. Isn't there a basketball game, too? I think there's like a big NBA game tomorrow night. I think they got some real competition, especially if the Yankee game goes long. So I mentioned JBL. He was out next. JBL walks to the ring. He says the first thing he needs to do is apologize. He wants to apologize for doing this in Oklahoma. He said that all the trailer living hillbillies here don't have enough common sense to move to Texas. And as much as he would love to stay out there and bash Oklahoma some more because he genuinely hates this state and all of the people that live inside of it, he is here to deliver some news for all of us. It says Rey Mysterio, as we know, has been moved. He has been traded from Raw to SmackDown. He is now officially on the SmackDown brand. And that opens up a spot. That created a void on Monday Night Raw for the greatest trade ever, he said, as big as the Yankees acquiring Babe Ruth. He asked us to welcome the newest addition to Monday Night Raw. Baron Corbin is now officially a part of the Monday Night Raw roster. That's the equivalent of Monday Night Raw drafting a Baby Ruth candy bar. Not the Yankees acquiring Babe Ruth. So now Corbin's here. He's got new upbeat music. It's different. It sucks, but it's upbeat, kind of like the Happy Corbin theme was. He still has the stupid hat, but he's back to wearing tights. JBL said that Dolph Ziggler, who was going to be wrestling Corbin tonight, he said Dolph Ziggler does not steal the show, as he likes to say, but he's been stealing money from this company for the last 15 years. I didn't know where he was going with that at first. I thought he was implying that Dolph Ziggler was embezzling money from the company. I said, what a hell of one of those realistic storylines that Triple H is giving us here. Dolph Ziggler, the embezzler. But no, he said that Dolph has been stealing money by being employed by this company for the past 15 years. And he said if Dolph was around in the Attitude Era, that he would not have made the cut. Yes. Like Yamaguchi-san making the cut on Val Venus when he choppy-choppied his pee-pee back in the Attitude Era. He said that he was walking around the locker room earlier, and if this locker room was around in the Attitude Era, they wouldn't have made the cut either. I mean, look, people already romanticize the Attitude Era. People already want to return to 25 years ago. Do you really need to go out there and just kind of drive that point home and bury the whole fucking roster by admitting what people are probably muttering under their breath? Oh, he's right. So they kind of had him bury the roster here because there were people watching this who were agreeing with what he was saying. He said, but not this person. Not Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin would succeed in any era of WWE. And he then announced that Corbin is the modern-day wrestling god. He has bestowed upon him now the mantle of the wrestling god that he used to call himself on SmackDown back in the day. They were interrupted by Dolph Ziggler's music for a scheduled match between Corbin and Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler against Baron fucking Corbin here in 2022 on Monday Night Raw. Triple H's Monday Night Raw looking a lot like Vince McMahon's Monday Night Raw. JBL joined on commentary for the match. He called Kevin Patrick Shamrock a whole bunch of times, which I admit I laughed. That got a laugh out of me. And he said that Kevin Patrick was so bad that Raw getting Kevin Patrick as its new play-by-play guy was like losing 5 good people. He was healing on Kevin Patrick so much. I almost felt bad for the guy. I almost, not quite, but almost felt sorry for the guy. Crowd chanted bum-ass Corbin. JBL called Patrick Shamrock some more on commentary. Ziggler got some offense in, and he was trying to make a comeback here. Hit a zigzag, got a near fall out of it. Corbin stuffed the second attempt at a zigzag, hit the deep 6 for a near fall. This ended with the end of days. One of the most protected moves in all of WWE. The bro kick and the end of days. I think the only person that has ever kicked out of the end of days, I'm almost positive Drew McIntyre kicked out of it at WrestleMania this year. Otherwise, nobody is kicked out of this fucking move. The bro kick and the end of days. The two most protected finishes in this entire company now for the longest period of time. As long as these guys have been in the company for. I don't hate the pairing. I don't hate the pairing of JBL and Corbin. I think that they complement each other well. I think it makes Corbin a little more interesting. I'm sure it won't take more than 2 weeks for JBL to get on my fucking nerves, as long as he's not doing commentary every week. See, it was him doing commentary. After a while, it got unlistenable. But I think in that role, if he's going to be a manager, and we don't know if JBL is going to be with him on a permanent basis. We don't know. I remember when AOP in NXT had Paul Ellering with them. And they had a little run there for a while. They got called up to the main roster. Paul Ellering didn't come with them. People thought, well, Paul Ellering, maybe he's older. Maybe he just doesn't want to travel. And then I remember he did an interview on some podcast or something. And he said, no, they didn't want me. So I don't know if this is going to be a permanent arrangement or not, but I liked the pairing and I liked his promo. But what I like more is that we got to trade. We got to trade. How many times on the podcast have I been talking about this now for years? You have a brand split that you don't treat like an actual brand split. Why have we not had trades before? I mean, you can go through history and you can find a trade here and there. I mean, like on a more regular basis, a few times a year. You have these formal transactions between Raw and SmackDown, and you have people that get traded back and forth. You don't just have people randomly showing up on SmackDown who belong to Raw, or randomly showing up on Raw who belong to SmackDown or NXT. They show up on Raw for no reason at all. We got an actual trade. Now, there's a storyline reason for it. I don't know if this is something we're going to see again. In this case, Rey Mysterio quit on SmackDown on Friday. This was Triple H's way of placating him and saying, look, why don't we do this? Why don't I put you on SmackDown? We'll trade you from Raw to SmackDown, which Rey agreed to. That then created this hole on the Raw brand. Triple H then said, we're going to do a trade. We're going to send Corbin from SmackDown to Raw. So there was actually a storyline reason for them to do this. But, in the past, we've had general managers. Raw had a GM. SmackDown had a GM. They don't have GMs anymore. This is really the sort of thing that you would want to have GMs on both shows working this out, not just Triple H saying, okay, you're going to go here and you're going to go here. So that's part of it makes it a little bit weird, but just the idea that they at least acknowledged it and that we had an actual trade between two brands. That's the sort of thing I'd like to see them do more of. I would like to see them do more of that in the future. So Miz was in the back. He was in the trainer's room. And Byron Saxton was trying to get a word with him. Miz was in great pain, right, with his knee. So Saxton was trying to get a word with him. He said various members of the custodial staff came forward to claim that they saw Miz pouring water on the floor. And then Miz took a seat on the floor. And Miz was offended at the implication that he was staging his injury and his injury was somehow not real. He was offended by this. Are you insinuating I'm trying to get out of my match with Dexter Lumis? Johnny Gargano showed up and he yelled, hey, it's Dexter Lumis. And the Miz jumped off the table, the trainer's table, and his knee looked fine. And Johnny said, oh, my bad. It's just Byron Saxton. Carry on. So he exposed Miz's lie. That was the point of this segment here. So Miz's plan did not work. He was not able to get out of his match with Dexter Lumis. We go backstage to MVP and Omos, the giant Omos. So the camera guy was on the floor. He was looking up this way at Omos because, otherwise we don't know. Otherwise the guy would look like a fucking midget, I guess, right? We have to see that he's so much bigger than everybody else. You have to assume the position. This is the position. That's my cameraman position. That's how you know Omos or Braun Strowman are coming out when I go like this. So MVP puts over Braun Strowman, says that nobody, though, compares to Omos. And he says that they're going to be on SmackDown on Friday. Omos would look down on Strowman to prove that he fears no man. He says monsters aren't real, but giants are. Well, the New York Giants are doing pretty good this year, actually. For a change. The Giants are actually doing pretty good. I don't know about the San Francisco Giants, but the New York Giants are doing well so far. Omos. It's Omos. It's Omos. We got a replay of the Bray Wyatt segment from SmackDown on Friday night, which was a great segment. We had that emotional promo in the ring, and the video message comes on, and we had that cliffhanger at the end of the show. And I talked a lot about the Bray Wyatt thing on the podcast this weekend, and how effective I thought that segment really was. We got to see the real Bray Wyatt, if only for a few minutes. Wyndham Rotunda had the chance to go out there and just talk to the crowd in a way that we have never heard him talk before on TV. And I think he knew we're not going to get to see him like that again, probably. We're going to end up getting so many different incarnations of Bray Wyatt wherever the storyline is going. This was his moment to have 5 minutes on television for the first time to communicate to the crowd for real how he really feels. And I thought it was very effective to see a different side of him in that segment. And it just, the entrance and the music and everything, it just makes him feel like such a big deal. Now, we haven't seen him in a match yet, but, I was thinking about that, as a matter of fact. I was thinking about the idea that, what if Bray Wyatt in this return doesn't even wrestle? What if he just shows up on television every couple of weeks and we have some wild segment with him and we get to see all of these different personalities, but the guy doesn't actually wrestle a match? It's possible. It's possible. I said he belongs in movies. He belongs in movies, not in the ring. So we had Cameron Grimes in the back. This was Cameron Grimes' first appearance on television on a main roster show. And he walks up to AJ Styles and the OC in the back. And he says, guys, I've been having trouble with the schism. That's what Joe Gacy and the Dyad call themselves on NXT. He's been having issues with them now for several weeks. He goes, look, I'm having issues with these three guys, and I could really use your help. I want you guys, and he's specifically talking about Gallows and Anderson, not AJ. I don't think AJ. To be on NXT tomorrow night and be his partners. And Gallows perks up because he goes, hey, aren't you the guy with all the kizash? He talks like Hulk Hogan. That's how Hulk Hogan talks. You want a little Easter egg. I actually don't know if it's on Peacock. So it might have been edited out of the Peacock version. But on the main event many years ago, back in '89, it was the NBC special. They did the big breakup of the Mega Powers. They were coming back from a commercial break. And Hogan was in the back holding Miss Elizabeth's hand because she took a bump. And Hogan carried her to the trainer's room in the back, and he's on his knees and he's crying, right? This is like his Oscar nominated performance here. But he doesn't realize that they're back live on NBC. So he's on his knees and he's kind of moaning to himself, and he goes, give me the Tizime. I need the Tizime. Give me a cue. And they go, like, we're live. And then all of a sudden he goes, oh God, Elizabeth, are you okay? So that's kind of how he's always talked, Got to protect the business. It's an old school thing, right? If you're around regular people, you gotta speak in this special language where they don't understand what you're saying. So they agreed to be his partner. So long as he's got the cash, and AJ said, well, he doesn't really have cash, he's got crypto. What's Bitcoin down to these days, by the way? Wasn't Bitcoin has dropped like a fucking rock. Like, I don't keep too much tabs on the crypto stuff. I've had people tell me I need to get into crypto. Get the fuck out of here with that crypto bullshit. Hasn't it sank like a stone? What is it now? Like $16 or something? It was as high as, it was a lot higher than that. So anyway, they were going to get that match on NXT tomorrow night. AJ Styles one-on-one with Dominic Mysterio. Styles beat up Dominic until Rhea Ripley got up in his face. And Rhea was telling him, go ahead. He was being dared by Rhea Ripley to hit her. And AJ said that he wanted to. He goes, I want to. And AJ turns to the referee in the ring, because this is outside the ring. AJ looks up at the referee. The referee's telling him, get back in the ring. And Rhea's taunting him, and he looks up at the referee and he goes, this chick needs to be blasted. Again, I'm sure there are a lot of people in this chat right now who got very hot and bothered by that comment. Would pay a lot of money, in fact. Well, we won't get into that. Got a lot of freaks out there. I don't want to get them all riled up here. But AJ apparently thinks that Rhea Ripley needs to be blasted. You know, JBL was wrong. I think AJ Styles would fit in perfectly in the Attitude Era. JBL was wrong. So this distracted AJ, and Dominic ended up hitting a dive, springboard dive out onto AJ on the floor. That led into the commercial break. There was a referee distraction later on that allowed Rhea to trip up AJ when he was on the top turnbuckle. Dominic followed that with the Three Amigos for a near fall. You guys are ridiculous. Freakazoids, yeah, there's that word again. The Freakazoids. Now, these are the WWE Freakazoids. These aren't the AEW Freakazoids. The AEW Freakazoid, that's tomorrow. So Styles came back with a pump handle gutbuster for 2. Dominic came back with a tornado DDT. Styles ducked a 619 and he applied a calf crusher. Dominic, though, got a rope break. There was an argument that broke out outside with the members of the Judgment Day and the remaining members of the OC. They were about to get into it. The referee was distracted by this. Rhea Ripley grabbed AJ by the leg. Dominic surprised AJ with a schoolboy and got the pin to win the match. They gave these guys almost 15 minutes. Finn Balor was great here in the post-match. He was totally hamming it up in the celebration, and he was telling Dominic, you did it, like, I'm so proud of you, you did it. They're all in, trying to get this kid over. They're all in trying to get Dominic over. It took all kinds of distractions for him to do it, but he got the win over AJ Styles. And look, here's the thing, for the people who are going to complain about this, and I saw people in the live chat before I went live, and I saw people on my timeline, oh, what are they doing with AJ Styles? They're burying him. How could he lose to Dominic? What are they doing? Dominic sucks. You can't create new stars without using the existing stars to help get them over. Now, you may not like Dominic Mysterio. I don't think Dominic is as terrible as people make him out to be. I find him totally uninteresting. The stuff with Rhea actually makes him semi-interesting. Dominic on his own is a fucking bore. And he is still very green, and he's still learning, and he's still very inexperienced. But I have seen far worse. You know, he hasn't been doing this that long. When I see him in the ring, I think he's more than capable. Even the earliest matches that we saw him in. He had a SummerSlam match with Seth Rollins 2 years ago. He's capable in the ring. It's something that hopefully will come with time. Is Dominic going to end up being the next great second generation star? Would he be second generation or third generation? I think second generation. Whatever generation. Is he going to be the next big star in that regard, or is he going to end up being the next, fucking Eric Watts or David Flair? The jury is out. We don't know if he's going to be the next David Flair or if he's going to be a big star. Maybe he'll be The Rock. Maybe not The Rock. But the point is, what they're doing with him is exactly what you need to do if your goal is to get him over. You can use someone like AJ Styles to put him in the ring with AJ Styles. You know AJ's going to give him a good match. And AJ will put him over. Now, do I want to see AJ Styles laying on his back doing the job for Dominic Mysterio at this stage? No, it's not what I would do. I wouldn't have him necessarily go out there and win. But putting him in the ring with AJ for 15 minutes, not a bad person to be working with. And if they're going to put him over, you can't then turn around when they don't make new stars and say, oh, they need to make new stars. And then when they try to make new stars, oh my God, I can't believe they had AJ lose to this guy. Well, then how the fuck do you expect him to get over if he doesn't start beating people that actually have a name? What does it matter if Dominic goes in there and he's beating fucking jabrones that nobody cares about? You can't have it both ways. You either want them to create new stars or you don't. Just because it's a new star that you don't like doesn't mean that they shouldn't take the chance and try to make him. They've already got 2+ years invested in this kid. Think of all the shit that we have sat through for the last 2 years. since the fucking pandemic started. With Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio and the fucking gumball eye with Rey and that whole storyline, right? And all the stuff that we've seen with Dominic and Rey and now the Judgment Day and Edge and everything else to get to this point. What are they supposed to do? Just give up on the kid? Rey Mysterio has dedicated the last 2 years of his career to try to get his son over, as any father would. So if they're all in on him, this is exactly the sort of thing that you would expect them to do. But you can't have it both ways. WWE needs to be creating new stars. For so long, they did a very poor job of building up new stars. That's why we ended up for years, the last fucking 10 years almost, with a roster of mid-carders. 95% of the WWE roster for so long were mid-carders. They were not real, genuine big stars. And you will never make real, genuine, big new stars unless you take the time to create them and have them work with people and have those people put them over so that people say, hey, this guy's got some credibility. He beat AJ Styles. He beat this guy. He beat that guy. You don't think Rey's going to go into WrestleMania and not do the job for his son when we eventually get that match? Can't have it both ways. Vince McMahon fucked that roster up with his booking for years by not creating enough new stars. When people left, when people retired, or were forced into retirement, or got hurt, we were left with John Cena and Randy Orton and Roman Reigns, who he was stuffing down our fucking throats, and not much else. That was their fault. And maybe Dominic is not the next John Cena, but at least they're trying. So the Miz was in the back. He was warming up for his match when Johnny Gargano walked up and said, look, I've known Dexter Lumis for a very long time. He said that he knows the real story between Miz and Lumis as far as why Lumis has been talking about or Lumis has been attacking Miz and stalking him and bothering him now for so many weeks. And Gargano said that if Miz wants out of the match, it's very simple. All he has to do is come forward and tell the truth. Miz said that Lumis would be banned forever once he beats him. He's going to beat him. He's going to wrestle him. He's going to beat him. Gargano said, okay, good luck with that. Miz said, when I'm done with him, I might have a score to settle with you. And Gargano said, okay. And he added that Miz can't say I didn't warn you. Dexter Lumis was on his way to the ring for his match when the Miz attacked him from behind with a steel chair. Beat him down with multiple chair shots, and then he gave him a skull-crushing finale onto the chair. Lumis was barely conscious. Referees came out to help him, and Miz went to the back. So this match that they advertised for the entire week, we never actually got. Here I thought, finally, some progress in this storyline. They're going to move this to the next chapter, because I don't know what the fuck they've been doing the last few weeks. So at least now they're going to have a match. Dexter's going to probably win a contract. At least we're moving in the right direction. We didn't even get the match. He laid out Lumis, he left, and that was the end of that. So this story drags on now for another week without any real progress. But they are doing a story where Gargano is kind of holding it over Miz's head. It's like, I know what you did last summer. Johnny Gargano was playing the role of Jennifer Love Hewitt. Actually, no, I guess Johnny Gargano would be playing the role of the villain. And the Miz would be Jennifer Love Hewitt. See, that makes more sense. And that's very creepy because I had a huge crush on Jennifer Love Hewitt back in the day. So the idea that Jennifer Love Hewitt would be the Miz, yeah, I don't like that I made that comparison. But yes, Jennifer Love Hewitt was a big, I will say, Jennifer Love Hewitt was a big crush of mine back in the day. There's a movie that she was in that if you never saw it, it's I won't even call it a guilty pleasure because I think it's a good movie. It's just not a movie that anybody ever talks about because it wasn't a mainstream movie. But it has Will Friedle as the star. He was the Corey's older brother on Boy Meets World. It's a movie called Trojan War. And it's just a favorite movie of mine. I saw it once late on cable when I was younger. And I just really enjoyed it. And she's in that movie. That might have been the first time I ever saw her actually in a movie. Jennifer Love Hewitt is far more attractive than The Miz, by the way. So I'll just put that out there. Although I think she did throw up on the president once, didn't she? Didn't she throw up on Bush, I think? I think she threw up on Bush one day. Some kind of dinner at the White House or something. Miz in a wig does not look like Jennifer Love Hewitt. What have I done here? But there was one thing about this I thought was incredibly stupid. One thing about this that was very dumb. Dexter Lumis came out to his entrance music. Dexter Lumis is not under contract to WWE. Dexter Lumis has been showing up to these shows, and he's been abducting The Miz, and he's been abusing The Miz. He has no contract. Why is he coming out with entrance music from the back? He should be coming out with no music through the crowd, which is how we've been seeing him on most weeks. So I thought it was just a very dumb thing to send him out there from the back with entrance music. The guy doesn't even work there. How is he coming out with entrance music? When he was in NXT, he had music because he worked there. He doesn't work here anymore. Like Bianca Belair says, you don't even go here. Backstage, Byron Saxton interviewed Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky and asked them what's next. Bayley told him to appreciate what's happening right now in front of his eyes. They asked, where's Alexa Bliss? Where's Asuka? Right? They took care of them, so they're not around anymore. They took credit for taking them out. Bayley said Bianca did not pin her at Extreme Rules. She said that she would show Bianca next week what it is like when she is back in control. And they put a graphic up on the screen. It did not indicate that this was going to be a championship match, but they will be having a singles match on Raw next Monday night. We then had the return of Elias. To no reaction. Nobody cared that Elias was back until he did his catchphrase, right? Who wants to walk with Elias? And then that got a reaction. But, the crowd pops for catchphrases. That's what they do. That doesn't mean they care about this guy. They didn't give a fuck about this guy. We haven't seen the Elias character. I mean, aside from that dumb, that video they did, when they kind of spliced him and Ezekiel on the screen together, we haven't seen Elias in the flesh on television in how long? How long has it been? A year? It's been a long time. And so he got a very tepid reaction here coming out. He mentioned that his younger brother's career was tragically cut short. And then he did his catchphrase. He got a pot for that. He said he wrote a song just for Oklahoma City. And normally when he comes out here, he would play a song on his guitar. But he wrote a song here that he plays on the keyboard. And he asked the fans to remain silent because the song tends to choke him up. Before he could start playing the song, though, Matt Riddle's theme song hits. And out comes Riddle, and he's got bongos with him. He's got a pair of bongos with him. He comes down to the ring, and Elias politely took issue with him interrupting his performance. My first night back, you're coming out here, you're interrupting me. Riddle said he didn't mean to interrupt him. He goes, he's a huge fan of his. Says, you want to hit my bong, bro? You want to hit my bong, bro? Yeah, bro. You want to hit my bong, bro? So Elias says, well, I really don't do that sort of thing. But he goes, everybody knows, Riddle says, everybody knows that WWE stands for Walk with Elias. And he tried to get the fans to kind of chant or sing to the beat of Walk with Elias. And some of them did, and a lot of them didn't. Elias said that he appreciates Riddle and all of his fans. He encouraged Riddle to take a front row seat. Take a seat here in the ring. Riddle asked if they could play together one day, and Elias promised Riddle that one day they would, in fact, play together. Riddle sat down in the ring. Elias began playing the keyboard, and then he was interrupted by Seth Rollins' theme music. And he came out, and look, if you like stoner humor, I guess the bong joke was pretty good, but the rest of this was very goofy. You know what I miss? I miss serious Matt Riddle. We only got him for a few weeks at the beginning of this feud with Rollins, but I already miss serious Matt Riddle. Can we get that guy back? What happened to that guy? We need Elias to come out on television next week and say that Riddle's wife and kids don't give a fuck about him and kind of get him back in that mode. So the main event was Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle. One more time, one final time for the United States Championship. Elias stayed ringside for the match, so you knew he was going to end up being involved in some way. I thought he was going to go heel at the end of the match, but he might still go heel, but it didn't happen. He caught Rollins with a jumping knee strike on the floor when Rollins came over and pie-faced him. And he pulled an Eddie Kingston. Referee didn't see it, though. That led into the final ad break of the show. After the break, Riddle connected with the floating bro, got a near fall. He landed the bro Derek. Again, Rollins kicked out. Elias was encouraging Riddle from ringside. He was cheering him on. He was setting up for another floating bro, but Rollins cut him off and climbed up. Rollins hit a reverse suplex off the top rope, and then he hit the Finn Balor 1916. Got a near fall. Rollins went for the frog splash, but he got caught on the way down in the triangle, just like what happened at Extreme Rules. Rollins muscled him up, slammed him up against the turnbuckles. Riddle still would not let go of the hold. He wouldn't let go of his grip. So Rollins delivered a sit-out powerbomb, and still, Riddle would not let go. He was holding on like a bulldog. He would not let go of that grip. Finally, Rollins desperately got his foot over and onto the bottom rope for the break. So Rollins rolls out to the floor, and Elias is standing right there. And he starts telling Elias, hit me, hit me. He's like he's Rhea Ripley earlier on in the night. He's telling Elias to hit him so that he'll be disqualified, and that way he can retain his championship. And Elias refuses. So he gives Elias a super kick. Riddle gets Rollins back inside. He hits the Randy Orton draping DDT. Riddle is setting up for the RKO. He goes for the RKO. Rollins shoves him off, but as he's shoving him off, Elias is now coming into the ring because presumably he's going after Rollins because Rollins kicked him in the face. When Elias gets in the ring, though, Rollins shoves Riddle into Elias, and the two of them collide. They both go down, and that allows Rollins to deliver the stomp, and he pins Riddle to retain the U.S. title. And then after the match, he gave Elias a stomp for good measure. So Rollins was setting up for another stomp to Riddle when Mustafa Ali enters the ring. He spears Seth Rollins. He knocks him out of the ring. He delivered a suicide dive. That knocked Rollins over the announce desk. Then Mustafa dove over the announce desk onto Rollins, clotheslined him into the front row. Rollins retreated through the crowd. Ali stood on the top of the barricade, and he was shouting at Rollins that he, being Ali, is now Seth's problem. I'm your problem now. I have a lot of love for Ali. I think he was done dirty after he got hurt in the match with Randy Orton on SmackDown. He got an eye injury, and he was taken out of the Elimination Chamber match. I think that there would have been a little bit of a push heading into WrestleMania in it for Ali, and he was deprived of that. That was when he missed all those months, and then he was healed up. And remember the whole story, Triple H didn't even know. Triple H did not even know that he was healed from his injury. He's sitting around going, when can I come back? Put me back in, coach. They didn't even know he was healed up. And he missed all those months, 7 months off television when he was perfectly healthy. And he got fucked over big time by that injury. And he was done dirty by Retribution, because Retribution was a terribly executed idea. It was awful. It will go down as one of the all-time worst factions in wrestling history. And Mustafa Ali was the face of it. He was the face of Retribution. It could not have worked out worse for him. So I would like to see the guy find some success. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a great wrestler. He's not the biggest guy in the world. Remember, when he debuted, it was in the Cruiserweight Classic. I had never heard of him before. But he impressed the hell out of me. I would like to see good things happen to Mustafa Ali. I want to see him succeed because he's got the talent in the ring, and I think that he can be a great babyface. He just hasn't put it together personality-wise. Character-wise, gimmick-wise. Again, I said earlier, the connection, the organic connection with the crowd just isn't there. He was on TV with Bobby Lashley a few weeks ago. The crowd really wasn't reacting to him. He was in the ring with Seth Rollins earlier in the show. Crowd wasn't really reacting to him. WWE hasn't really given the crowd a reason to react to him. We need to start seeing him on a more consistent basis. Put him in the ring. Let him shine. Let him go in there and do his thing. Give him more promo time. And then we'll see if he can get over on his own. So far, it's not happening. Now, working with Seth Rollins, that could potentially help out a lot in that regard. But honestly, I don't see this being much more than a short program and a match at Crown Jewel. I really don't. I really don't see that being much more than this. I would love to be wrong. I would love for Ali to I would love for Ali to carve out a spot for himself in the mid-card. Ali is not going to go any higher than that. It's not going to happen. There's nothing wrong with having a solid mid to upper mid-card spot on either roster. I think that's a good place for him to be. I mean, look, I would love it if he can kind of blow up and do even bigger and better things. I'm just not seeing that connection with the audience. But if he can carve out a spot in the mid-card for himself, it would be a great place for him to be. I just don't see him going much higher than that. As far as Riddle and Elias, are they going to feud? Are they going to end up in a tag team? It could go either way. I could see WWE putting the two of them together. Randy Orton's going to be out for who knows how long. I mean, his career is potentially in jeopardy. That's how bad his back injury is. His career is in jeopardy. We don't even know if Randy Orton is going to be back on a full-time basis. So the RK Bro thing is on ice for the foreseeable future. They could always put them together as a tag team. I don't have any interest in seeing that. I really don't. It's more likely that they end up feuding. Elias may, go heel again at some point, and they'll probably have a match or a series of matches. And that would be a very big step down for Matt Riddle, seeing as how he's the one who came out of the fight pit. He just headlined the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. They were in the main event, and he came out of that fight pit as the winner. Seth Rollins was the loser. And now you see where they are at this point. Seth Rollins is the United States champion. And Matt Riddle is apparently left to feud with Ezekiel's older brother. That's a very big downgrade. And so is this episode of Raw compared to a lot of the recent shows that they've had. Here's the Twitter poll. 52% of you have given this show a thumbs up, 31.5% thumbs in the middle, and 16% thumbs down. At Solomonster is where all of these polls are parked. You can go ahead and vote there. That 52 is one of the lower numbers Raw has gotten in recent weeks, so apparently I'm not the only one who felt that this was a very, like I said, a downgrade. It was a downgrade compared to a lot of Raw episodes that we've seen. This was not a great show. But this is a great streaming. You know why? Because I get to hang out with all of you. That's why this is a great stream. So now I get to go through your super chats, and we get to hang out here for a little bit. I want to thank everybody who is hanging out with me still. All 1,300 plus. Still hanging on here after midnight on a Monday, early Tuesday. Let's see what you guys have to say about the show tonight. We got Kevin Dunn's Beaver. Thank you very much, Kevin Dunsby. I am not running, but if I was, I'm happy to know that I have your support. I would make you, just so you know, you would be my Secretary of Agriculture. I would make sure that you have a position in my cabinet. Shinakuma, coming out the West Coast, let me be the first to start this train off today. I want to shout out the entire Solomonster family. Thank you, Shin. Flamethrower Fluff Salisbury. So if Rhea goes to NXT and beats Roxanne, will Perez start kicking the hell out of her own mother in 2 weeks? You lost me there. I think I'm missing something. You lost me there. Mr. Notorious Chico 86. I'm just not a fan of Dominic Mysterio. He reminds me of David Flair in the business because of his dad. And do you think WWE should reach out to Emma? I think WWE could absolutely use some more women. Supposedly they have interest in Mia Yim. They have interest in Chelsea Green. I don't see why Emma would not be deserving of a second chance. We've got Love Lie. Mysterio is not Rey's real last name. Since Dominic is trying to distance himself from Rey, do you think he should ditch the Mysterio name? No, the Mysterio name is the name that has value. The Mysterio name has equity. Gutierrez, there's no attachment to Gutierrez. And they don't want people using their real names. So I don't know why would he start using his real name all of a sudden? He's going to take the Mysterio name and he's going to make it his own. Google Chrome user 2022. I think I speak for everyone when I say we want Omos. Oh. Google user suffered brain damage. That's a shame. Hey, Damien the Fiend, happy birthday. Enjoying his first hour of number 31. Ah, I get it. Okay. See, I knew that joke would go right over my head. I see. I get it now. Google Chrome user, thank you again for the $2. Joshua Edwards says, King Omos. What is with the Omos love? What is this? Joshua says, acknowledge King Omos, silly salmon, solly monster. D. James, this was the Mustafa Ali episode, and I am not mad at that. Joshua says, did you... I think Joshua is out of his mind tonight. Joshua, thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the $2. For the $4. Dan Teller, thank you for the 10. Dan says, listening to you helps me. Been a fan for years. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Justin Jack checking in with us tonight. Seeing as how you don't cover Rampage anymore, could you see yourself stopping AEW coverage altogether like you did with TNA back in the day? I mean, if I suddenly didn't like it all of a sudden, then I wouldn't watch it. But that's unlikely. We have a lot of people who watch AEW and want to be kept up about AEW. I enjoy it, so there's no reason to stop covering it. Scott Woodford says, cheers. Cheers to you as well. Is today your birthday? I think today is Scott's birthday. I think tomorrow is his son's birthday. So again, happy birthday to Memphis. Back-to-back birthdays. That's pretty cool. Aussie of Steel. I see Triple H is keeping the Vince tradition of one extra match after the end of a feud in the main event tonight between Riddle and Rollins. Old habits die hard. Bobby's World with the $20 super chat. Bobby, thank you. WWE on Fox put up a picture of Corbin and JBL and said, name this duo. I went with The Wolf and Wall Street. I need to either trademark that or I should show myself out. You decide. I think The Wolf and Wall Street is actually a great play on words. I don't know that they'd be able to get that copyrighted, but I think that's a great name. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, well, so much for Triple H saying that we are open to working with other companies a few years ago. Did not watch Raw. I am glad that I didn't. Grimsley, thank you for the 5. Says, hey, yo, been watching on and off for a couple of years now. And JD is on vacation, so I thought I should show you some love. Omos for Universal Champion. You know, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear you say that, because I like you, Grimsley, and I'd like to keep on liking you, so I will pretend that that was simply a autocorrect error. I will say that your phone has a mind of its own, and that you did not actually type those words. Richie, can't wait to hear your rant on Halloween Ends. I will have a review up at some point this week. Rizzo says, I gladly would be manipulated by Rhea Ripley. Also, finished the podcast today, and I corpsed when you said AEW fans, WWE fans, and Impact fan. Did I say that? Oh, it must have been a slip of the tongue. Liquid Sharingan, what? Lakers Pats, thoughts on the Bobby Fish, Where's the Lie promo? You lost me at Bobby Fish. I completely lost interest the moment you said Bobby Fish. Tripod says, was that Hogan segment the same one where Beefcake botched and Macho Man said get out? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Beefcake got into the camera shot too early, which I'm guessing they also edited that out of the Peacock version. That's the same segment. Cameron Spencer, would you ever consider running for president? No. Rizzo with the $10 super chat. I looked at my credit card statements for the last year and I've paid $600 to dating apps to get stood up once and threatened by a woman's husband. I should have given Solo $600 instead. Yes, you should have. I won't threaten you. And I'll never stand you up. You know exactly where to find me each and every week. Every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. You fucked up, brother. You fucked up. Hyru, where the hell is Tommaso Ciampa? That's a great question. I was wondering that myself. Where's Tommaso Ciampa and where's Kevin Owens? Kevin Owens has been doing the live events. Why is he not on TV? Slim Yoshi was hoping for I Bring the Darkness when Baron Corbin came back since it was a banger theme. One of Jim Johnston's last one. It might have been Jim Johnston's last theme that he did. Now that you mention that. Dakota says Google Chrome user either caught a virus or malware or got hacked. That probably explains that bizarre super chat. Yeah, probably some virus that he was infected with. Dan Teller says, was this the worst Raw of the Triple H era? I don't think it was the worst one. I feel like there was another one that was worse. Maybe a couple of months ago. But this was one of the worst ones that he has overseen. Cameron Spencer, who annoys you more, WWE fans, AEW fans, or Omos fans? Omos fans, they don't annoy me. I just, I feel sorry for them. Honestly, it's probably some of the AEW fans who annoy me the most. Anyway. Or as Ariel said, the Freakazoids. I haven't heard, again, I said this on the podcast, I haven't heard that word in, I don't know, since I was in middle school or elementary school. I think there was a cartoon with that word in there. All right, you guys hit the goal. You know what that means. It's time to be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
We hit our goal tonight. And thank you for that. If you have not already hit the like button, please go ahead and do so. It does help out the video. Hopefully on the archive version, we can get up to 700 or 800, maybe 9. But let's begin here, as we always do, with the men's Be the Booker. You will see many, 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 many faces here. This is totally random. We're going to try to book some matches that are better. Can we book a better show here than Triple H booked on Monday Night Raw tonight? I think we can. And we begin... Well, so much for that. So much for that. All you people talking about Omos, I think you willed this into existence. You wanted to do me one better and go somewhere so even worse than Omos. You wanted to go so far beyond Omos, and we end up with the giant Gonzalez. Look at him. He's got the furry arms. He's got the furry crotch. He's got fur on his crotch. He's got fur on his face. The giant Gonzalez. I don't think that there is anybody who I can pick to oppose him who is going to make this a win. There is not a single person who can get a bell at this point. Well, I'll tell you what. I stand corrected. I stand corrected. If anybody can get us to a bell with the giant Gonzalez, it's Hollywood Rock. I spoke too soon. I think Hollywood Rock can make this work. If he keeps it short, I think he can make this work. I believe in The Rock. I believe in Hollywood Rock. I think The Rock can make chicken salad out of chicken shit. I mean, it's The Rock. All right, let's go to the ladies here. We can do better than The Rock against the Giant Gonzalez, I would think. We have, oh, look who it is. It's Beth Phoenix. It's Angry Beth. It's Angry Beth Phoenix. Remember where she was in the frozen pose? She was in suspended animation there for a while. See who it's going to be. Beth Phoenix is going to go one-on-one with Camille. Camille from the NWA. I think she might still be. Is she still the champion? I don't know if she's still the women's champion over there, but Beth Phoenix and Camille. I see a lot of similarities between them. Body type, blonde hair. Both good wrestlers. Well, this Be the Booker segment so far. We're 2 for 2. Let's try to go 3 for 3. Where it stops, nobody knows. We begin with Scissor Me Daddy Ass. It's the Acclaimed, the reigning AEW Tag Team Champions. Caster and Bowens. Who are they going to be scissoring here in this main event? It's going to be the Acclaimed stepping into the ring with The Bar. Sheamus and Cesaro. They were a great tag team. The Bar is a very underrated team. I enjoyed The Bar. I've been to many a bar in my day. I've had some good nights at those bars. I've had some very bad nights at those bars. This bar, I think, was very enjoyable. So we went 3 for 3. There you go, guys. You always try to go 3 for 3. We managed to pull it, even with the Giant Gonzalez in there. We managed to go 3 for 3. I don't know how we did it, but we managed to pull it off. Tyler, thank you for the $4.99. When do you think Rick Boogs returns, and will Triple H push him as much as Vince did? Love you, Solomonster. You work so hard, and you are the best ever. Thank you very much, Tyler. Rick Boogs is still recovering. He's training like a beast. I see some of these videos on his YouTube channel, so I know he's training like a beast. Is Triple H going to push him as much as Vince did? You know, he's not a. I don't want to say he's not a Triple H guy, because he came up through NXT, but they never put him on TV. One time, I think he made an appearance, but he was never really used in NXT. So I don't know how much of a Triple H guy he really is. I think Triple H will give him a shot. Yeah. But as far as where he is in terms of his recovery, I mean, he got hurt in April. So we're around that time period where he should be, I would think, cleared fairly soon. Unless he's had some setbacks that I'm not aware of. Rizzo, thank you for the 10. I just listened to Ariel interviewing Billy Corgan, and I highly recommend everybody listen to it. I think the pandemic hurt their momentum, and also, is NWA more relevant than Impact? No, NWA, I wouldn't say it's more relevant than Impact. They're pretty much on the same level at this point. But yeah, I mean, look, the pandemic really killed their momentum a lot. And they had certain plans, I know, and those plans got scuttled, and my interest level just completely waned in the NWA. I was enjoying NWA Power, and I was reviewing it on the podcast on most weeks, and then it's just not the same now, and it's too bad, because again, the product at one point I thought it was a simple show to watch. It was an easy watch. There was enough on there to keep my interest and that I thought was fun. But it just, I don't know, it doesn't have the same feel to me that it did before. And yeah, Tyrus not only being on the show, but being in main events is certainly one of the reasons that I think people were chased away from watching the NWA. I smoke a lot of weed, $1.99. I hope one day we can have Gable go one-on-one with Butch. I do too. Milton, what's going on, Milton? Milton Herrera Ramoldi. Now that Sarah Logan is going to manage the Viking Raiders, should Triple H finally scrap that name and have them come back as War Machine? Now, that's not going to happen because War Machine was their independent name. But I don't see why they can't go by what was, didn't they have a different name initially in NXT? It wasn't War Machine. Was it the War Raiders? I think it was the War Raiders. You know what though? The Viking gimmick now has been established. And they're coming back seemingly as a trio of Vikings. So no, the name is not going to be going anywhere. Cameron says better villain, Kang the Conqueror or the Joker. The Joker. How's that even a question? Love Lie, have you seen the Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix series? I have not. Richie, thank you for the 5. What did you think of Halloween Ends, and will you do a top 10 Michael Myers death or a buy and sell version of it? I will not, but I have seen the movie, and I will be doing a separate review. So that's where things stand as far as Halloween Ends. There will be a review, so just keep your eyes out for it. It should be in these next few days, and channel members will get it first. And then eventually it will hit for everybody else. So this would be a great time to sign up and become a channel member. But you knew I was going to do a Halloween Ends review. I did one for Halloween 2018, and I did one for Halloween Kills. So we have to wrap up the trilogy with one for Halloween Ends, and I only wish that I had more glowing things to say about it. Well, Joey, that's true. Kang does have time travel power, but he doesn't beat the Joker. Oh, Harold, name of the day, Shinsuke Nakamura. What are your thoughts? Huge name when he first came in. A lot of excitement. I was there in Dallas for that first match he had with Sami Zayn. It was one of the great matches that I've seen live, and the crowd reaction had a lot to do with it. It just felt like such a big event seeing those two in the ring. And his name value has just plummeted in recent years. So I think Nakamura had the potential to be a lot bigger than he ended up being. Hairu, I thought Alpha Academy was supposed to be adding a new member. Whatever happened to that? Yeah, that looks like it was dropped. Now, did that start after Vince left, or did that start before? Because I'm wondering if it started before, it could have been a Vince McMahon direction that was dropped. I thought it was something that started when Triple H took over. But yeah, that got dropped. There's been no mention of them recruiting for new members or anything like that. The whole thing just kind of got dropped. Should have been world champ at least once. Look, never forget that Shinsuke Nakamura feuded with Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal was WWE champion for 6 months. And Shinsuke went in there, and I believe he lost twice. I think he lost 2 pay-per-view matches to Jinder. Jinder had 6 months as the WWE champion. Shinsuke had 0. That is atrocious. There's no rational way of defending that. And at this point, I mean, look, you can never say never. Guys get hot, right? Things happen, but I don't think that's in the cards for Shinsuke at this point. I still can't believe that despite how long you have been a fan, WrestleMania 28 was the first one that you went to live. Why didn't you go to 10 or 20? We couldn't afford to go to 10, so I went to the Fan Fest in Madison Square Garden the day before. That's when I met Vince and Shawn Michaels and a bunch of different people. But we just couldn't afford the tickets. And as far as 20, I don't know. Probably sold out. I think that's what it was. I think it sold out before I had a chance to even look. Tripod. Thank you for the 5. Promo trivia. What wrestler, tag team, or manager said the following? It's better to be dead and not make money than to make money against us. Oh, gosh, I don't know. I have no idea. Doesn't sound like anybody from WWE, though. Sounds like something that maybe an NWA team would have said. Hulkling93, funny, after Solomonster goes on about can't having it both ways with building stars, and then the love for Omos comes, and he feels sorry for those people. Yeah, because Omos sucks. Omos sucks. Omos has a ceiling. His fucking head hits the ceiling, but he has a ceiling. Omos can only do so much. We've gone through this in WWE before. One thing that Vince McMahon was never shy about doing was giving a push to the big giants. Whether it was Great Khali, whether it was whoever, right? There have been these giants that have come in, and fake Kane and other people, right? They're always going to have a shot because they're big. They're big and they stand out, and right, they're an attraction. And I'm not saying that there are no big guys out there who, can't work. I could think of two who had pretty good success in their careers, Undertaker and Kane being two of them. Now, Omos is physically taller. He's bigger than either of them. And he's an attraction. But he sucks. So if you're expecting him to, what exactly are you expecting him to do when he's on TV? Are you expecting him to go in there and have long matches, 10-minute matches, 12-minute matches? Are you expecting him to go in there and be the WWE champion? Are you going to put the WWE title on Omos? What is it about Omos that you have seen so far on the microphone, in the ring, that would lead you to believe that this guy should have even more television time? I would love to know. I also went out of my way to say that Ali is really good in the ring. And I think he could be a believable, scrappy babyface. He has those qualities about him where if you try to push him and he actually gets over, right, he can go out there and have those great matches. He can play babyface in peril. Now, as far as Dominic is concerned, I also made the comment that Dominic is more than capable in the ring. Dominic has had some good matches. I think Dominic can grow into a very good in-ring performer. The character stuff is still something that he's working on. The promo stuff is still something that he has not done much of. And now with Judgment Day, he's hopefully going to have more of a chance to show off his personality. I think there's something there. With Omos, there ain't much there. He's big. That's it. That's it. If Omos wasn't 7'2" or whatever he is, I don't think he would have a job in this company, because there's nothing else that we have seen from him in terms of his personality on television, in terms of his speaking ability on television, in promos, when he's able to cut a promo. Now he has MVP doing the promos for him. There's nothing about him that makes me want to see more of him on TV. So that's my thoughts on Omos, since you brought it up. Got to get Omos over as a new star. Omos was tag team partners for over a year with AJ Styles. He's no better. I don't see him being any better now than he was before he started teaming with AJ. And that was a great idea, too. If you're going to learn from somebody, right, you learn from AJ Styles. That's why Dominic is working now with AJ Styles. But he was a tag team with AJ Styles for over a year. Is he really any better now than he was at the beginning of all that? What would you have them do with Omos? Why don't we have him in every hour of the show? We'll make sure we have Omos in hour 1, in hour 2, in hour 3. He'll have a couple of handicap matches. We can have a segment called Cooking with Omos. We'll put a little chef hat on his head, and he can cook. He can tell us how to stuff a turkey. Thanksgiving is coming up, right? So he can give us cooking tips. We can have a talk show segment with Omos where he gives life advice and dating advice for people, right? He's very big, so maybe he struggles in the dating department, and so he can talk to us about what it's like for him to go out and meet women, and right, that could be a whole segment on the show. You could do another segment. Maybe he likes cars. Omos can tell us what kind of cars he drives in, right? He's a big fucking guy. I don't think he fits in a fucking Kia. So maybe he can talk about the kind of cars that he drives, right? People are into car shows. We can have him do all these different things. We could just call it Monday Night Omas. We can rename the show. It's not Monday Night Raw anymore. It's Monday Night Omas. Yeah, Omas with a talk show. That's exactly what we need. He'll be the new Ricky Lake. Hyru says, I am an Io Shirai fan, but she feels miscast in Damage Control. If they swapped her with Raquel, do you think it would make a difference? I actually do. And I think that, at one time, Raquel and Dakota were partners. So I think Bayley, Dakota, and Raquel, frankly, would have made more sense. That way you also have somebody in the faction. Raquel would be the biggest in the group. It's always good to have somebody in the group who stands out in some way from everybody else. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe they're all just too much the same. They need somebody a little bit different to bring something else to the table. I think that actually would be a good spot for Raquel to be in. I think Io on her own as a babyface would have been the way to go. Love Lie, the fans are too hard on Dominic. Yeah, the Omos Book Club, that's another one, right? Omos can sit there. He can have his monocle. Maybe a little fire going behind him, right? We're heading into the winter. Little fireside chat. Fireside chats with Omos on Raw. He can read us Moby Dick. He can read us great novels in Dickens' books. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times when I was on TV. And he could just read us all of these books. Hulkling 93. To answer your Omos question, nothing. And I feel you for both Dominic and Ali since day one. But I just wanted to see your response, and it was great. Well, I hope I gave you a sufficient response. What else can Omos do on this show? Painting. Oh, my God. Omos could be the next Bob Ross. We could give him a little easel, right? He can draw a lot of happy trees and happy clouds. And it doesn't matter if he fucks up either, because remember, there's no such thing as a mistake. They're just happy accidents. So we could do painting with Omos, and he could do, I don't know, maybe it's just stick figures. I don't know his artistic ability, but painting with Omos, I think, would be great. Put a little bit of liquid white. He could teach us, all the different colors, right? That'd be great. Put a little Bob Ross wig on his head. Only problem is, you wouldn't be able to keep him in the camera shot. All you would see is his torso, and you would see him painting. You couldn't see his actual face. You'd have to be too far back to get him in full camera view. Omos, the meteorologist, there you go. Telling us, we got a hurricane coming through. It's gonna, tomorrow, it's gonna rain. It's gonna snow. It's gonna sleet. Make sure you wake up early and bring an umbrella with you, right? Omos can put his own little twist on it. Hey, maybe Omos wants to come on and be my co-host, right? Podcasting with Omos. This man is, he's a master of many different things. Jack of all trades, master of none. He can do a lot of different things. He's a modern day Renaissance man. Tripod says, why not give Omos a podcast? Omos Monster sounds off. Wait, you giving him my job now? You guys would be begging for me. If I left this podcast and you had Omos come on here for, why give it 1 week? You would be begging for me to come back. Hey, Mark, thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. No nonsense either. Just $5 contribution here to the stream. Dancing Omos. Vince McMahon was still booking. I would say we're only a few weeks away from that. Maybe under Triple H, we'll get less dancing on these shows. All right, tomorrow night is going to be a very big night. A lot of sports going on tomorrow night, a lot of wrestling as well. NXT goes head-to-head with Dynamite. We are going to be covering Dynamite Live as soon as the show is over, which hopefully it'll be over at 10. Again, we don't know how late the Yankee game might go. Yankees and Guardians, for those who don't know, were rained out this evening, and so they're going to be having their game at 4 o'clock tomorrow, and it just so happens to air on TBS. So hopefully it will not interfere with any of the wrestling shows or this stream, but I'm usually not live on a Tuesday. So that will be one change to remember. And we'll cover everything there is to cover tomorrow. We got more Omos love coming in here. Tripod says, how about the Van Omos Expressway? If there's one thing I dislike more, it's the Van Wyck. Dr. Dakota, better than listening to Russo Bro, I joke. Well, I would also listen to an Omos podcast over a Vince Russo podcast. You got me there. All right, so I think that about covers everything. I'm all Omos'd out here. I will see you guys back here again, 10 p.m. tomorrow night, as soon as Dynamite goes off. Right back here, live for the Dynamite review. Until then, have yourselves a good night. Thank you for hanging out with me and starting out the week on a high note. And we'll do it all over again in 24 hours. I'll see you guys then. Hey, the Manic Game Magician, thank you for the $2. Says Solo and the Monster with Omos as the monster. Hey, stranger things have happened, brother. You never know. And Luis Belmont show walkthroughs, speedy recovery for Triple H. Screw COVID. That's right. That's right. Screw COVID. Thank you, Luis. Have a good night.